So clearly this will be a talking point as I'm seeing it here, Tom Pelissero with the same thing, longtime Patriots assistant, as you just talked about. Caley spent the past 2 seasons with the Rams. He clearly has a connection with Nick Caserio as well, as they were in the building for several years together. I know we'll talk about this. I do, as this is happening, as we are in the crosstalk, and hell, I believe this is why
we're here.
This is why we have a crosstalk.
God bless.
Initially, we'll go with the vet here. OG, your thoughts here? We've seen a ton of names, including that Stefanovic name. I'm glad I don't have to try to say.
We don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, he don't coach here.
What's your feeling right now, Nick Caley? A lot of people liked him, but what's your feeling here?
I feel what the ultimate thing for Nick Caley was he had a varied history of offenses and people with whom he's worked, and now Gerard has had that as well. But maybe there was a part of the Texans that sort of still felt, even though Gerard didn't come in with Bobby Slowick, they came in together.
Yes.
He wasn't a Bobby Slowick guy. Like, they were like, okay, maybe we need an overhaul here, a new look. The most interesting thing to me, and maybe I'm just sort of, putting this out there in the ether for you guys to talk about at some point, is Gerard. How does he feel about this in terms of long-term, short-term, hanging around or not? He's going to stay, but that's an awkward situation.
You think this is
a job he applied for and wanted?
Do you think this is a Gerard decision? Like, if Gerard wants to stay,
I think,
or is this a Nick Caley decision?
It better be a Nick Caley decision. You don't hire somebody and then hamstring him. If he wants another quarterback coach, then he will hire another quarterback coach.
That's the other side of it. Yeah,
that is 100% the way that this has to go.
What does it do with a guy that D'Amico loves?
Yeah.
If all of a sudden,
wait, what did I just miss? Did I just miss?
And CJ loves.
You talking about Nick Caley hiring somebody?
Yeah, he was talking about the possibility of Gerard Johnson now that he's not the coordinator.
Gerard Johnson at the quarterback coach position, a guy who went for the same job as Nick Caley. That's why I said, is this a deal where it's up to him?
No,
it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Unless he would take himself out. That's the only portion that he would control. But you're not ruling out that
Nick Caley needs to bring in anybody that he feels he needs to bring in.
Should.
But at the same time, D'Amico loves Gerard and CJ loves Gerard.
And it might be helpful for Nick Caley to have.
That's kind of an awkward, how do we play this?
Nick Caley ain't never called plays, much less hired a staff.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're looking for an offensive coordinator to come in here and hire a staff, that ship sailed when Chip Kelly got hired.
Well, and keep in mind, Bobby Slowick didn't bring in his staff.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Who brought that staff in?
That was Nick and D'Amico.
Bingo.
Right,
yeah. Who you think brought this in?
Yeah. Oh, it was Nick.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Yeah, this ain't a hire where you turn the reins over and say, "Hey, man, do your thing, man. I'm out the mix."
But then that leads to the other side of it.
This is why this is created.
That leads to the other side of it. Man, if I'm Gerard, I wanted that job.
Sure,
I interviewed for that job. I was in line for that job. I interviewed for the Las Vegas job.
Yeah.
I interviewed last year for 2 other offensive coordinator jobs. And now they're bringing in Nick Caley?
Yeah.
But, look, man, we've all had disappointments in life. And what you're going to do is you're going to look at the circumstance and make the best decision. And if there's a place where that loves you, that is willing to have you, are you going to go get another quarterback job somewhere else with a quarterback that you have to develop a new relationship with?
Yeah, no.
But that's also beside the point. The breaking news is that Nick Caley's the offensive
He's the new guy, and I know you went kind of that route and the Gerard route, but I'll go with you, Reggie, before you guys get out. How do you feel about him? How do you feel about, we looked at all the candidates, to be honest with you, outside of Bill Lazor, outside of Brian Johnson, who called plays before and had been an OC before, these were all young guys that basically were Bobby Slowick before he came in, didn't have a lot of experience. Yeah. Now that it is Nick Caley, who I believe turned down the Jets job, was up for the Patriots job, but got beat up by Patricia and
you can't even finish saying it.
And Judge, the special team coach. But what's your thought about him being a guy? Not the Gerard stuff, not all that. Your thought about him being the guy?
Look, he is well-rounded. I think one of the things that I was hoping for is somebody that has some versatility to him, and he has some schematic versatility to him. He's seen a few different ways of calling offense in this league. It's the hem garment of the golden boy, which is Sean McVay, and I hope for one thing, especially when I'm looking in coaches, detail-oriented. That Sean. Well, you remember that time where everybody that touched the hem of Sean McVay's garment was getting some level of job. Nice return. But I do think that like those guys have all shown to be fairly detail oriented. So I like this hire. And on top of this might be where I just lean on the wisdom of the masses. There's been enough people that have told us that he is smart, he is good at this, and so I would lean on that idea that hey, he has a good reputation around this league. It seems like he has the versatility necessary, and it's not like you were interviewing very many people that had a whole bunch of play calling experience. So if you weren't going to have that, all of those other things I'm willing to lean on and feel comfortable going into.
All right, fellas. Appreciate the show and appreciate the breaking news here at the at the crosstalk.
Nothing really.
I guess the thing I'm supposed to do here is that you're listening to KILT AM, KILT FM HD2. Houston and Odyssey Sports Station, and right now, I mean, as you've already been able to hear, the drive is live.
Well, and you just made it in front of that 205 marker. There you go, way to do it. As we just roll in here, and listen, we are live. We are live here on Radio Row here in New Orleans, but this show has taken a turn. We were obviously the number one thing. In terms of stories, was the offensive coordinator situation. You see Chip Kelly go to the Raiders for $6 million. You see moves being made, and you say, where are the Texans going to go with everything they have? Clint, we have the Rappaport coming from Tom Pelissero as well. The Texans are hiring Rams tight end coach and passing game coordinator Nick Caley as their new OC. As C.J. Stroud and the Houston offense get a new play caller right now. He drew interest from the Jets and the Patriots, as we just talked about before. He was selective, didn't even interview for the Jets, turned it down. He is now going to be the guy. First-time play caller. He is the guy here for the Texans. Clint, your thoughts? Have you been able to kind of sit through this and hear everything? Nick Caley's the guy now. Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I think it's rinse and repeat with Bobby Slowick, another guy that came out of the very similar system. One was Shanahan, one was McVay. Both, I believe, had the passing game coordinator title. Neither had ever called plays. Neither had ever managed grown men that are making million dollars. None of them had ever put together an entire game plan and play designed for who the best players are and who the best weapons are for that team. And so it's a roll of the dice. I mean, you're hoping that these guys in the moment can get it done. There's no way you can't get in a simulator somewhere and let these guys call plays and all of a sudden how they're going to handle situations and how they're going to handle people and how how they're going to handle, most importantly, their quarterback. And so it's a roll of the dice. And as I've said before, I'm not a fan. I didn't like the list that they the candidates. I didn't like the process. It's underwhelming, I think, to say the least. Now he may end up being a grand slam hire. We've obviously in those two systems, whether it's McVay or Shanahan, we've seen them absolutely kill it and be the next best thing. But we've damn sure seen one that was supposed to be the smartest guy and this guy that had been in the advanced stat world forever, and he could apply that part to offense and this and that, and he wasn't good enough. And so I think it's a huge gamble. I understand it's a trend in today's NFL is this is the way a lot of teams do things instead of going after the retreads. But the fact that there was never a link to Chip Kelly, the fact that there was never a link to the Doug Petersons of the world, the fact that there was never a link to anybody.
You wanted someone.
I wanted somebody that would walk in and say, "This is my offense. Shut the door. I got this." Period. And instead, you got a Nick Caserio guy that's going to allow everybody. There's going to be 10 different cooks in the kitchen, as there was with Bobby Slowick, and you're going to hope that it all comes together and you get you nice New Orleans style, Southern Louisiana Cajun seafood gumbo. Come on.
All right, I think I want to throw this out to the people because Clint clearly is saying where he is in his mindset. Now that they have moved on, and when they moved on from Bobby Slowick, and now that you know the name, right? There are other names. Clint just spoke of some guys that had experience. From Chip Kelly, when that name came out, I think that was a sexy name for a lot of people. You named Doug Peterson. We've seen a lot of names roll in here. Is this one acceptable to you? Nick Caley, in your mind, Nick Caley never called plays. Is this the guy where you're like, all right, we have C.J. Stroud. He is heading into, year 3. We are win now. We've been in the divisional round. We've lost back-to-back years to the 1 seed, and the offense is what needed to be fixed. And when you were thinking about it, when you closed your eyes at the time and you were like, yes, Bobby's gone. Many of you who wanted Bobby gone. What was this what you were thinking? Was this what you were thinking? A guy that apparently is well respected, a guy that people have liked, a guy that has been up for jobs, or at least wanted to be talked to, but a guy, as Clint just said, doesn't have play calling experience, hasn't hired a staff, doesn't, any of that very Bobby Slowick-like. Is this what you felt and expected? Some people texting in, this is some BS. Hell yeah, we got us the number 1 guy, Nick Caley. Love it. Someone else texted in, underwhelming. Caley was the top name on the market. Where are you at? Is this something that feels good to you? I'll tell you where I am, Clint, is, look, he very well may work. We are seeing a trend of young guys that are working, and we have seen guys, and for the Texans, hopefully, this is more Matt LaFleur. This is more Sean McVay, who came from that, original tree with Kyle, and some of the other young guys under Sean McVay. Hopefully, it is that. But to me, I was hopeful because of who you have in C.J. Stroud, who you have in Nico Collins, Joe Mixon, that it would be somebody that you had a little bit more day one confidence that they knew exactly what they were doing and what they were going to implement. I'm not saying he doesn't, but it's just hard to say you've got day one confidence for somebody
who's never done it.
And that's
day one confidence that it appears that the entire process was designed around getting a guy that everybody in the building could keep their hands on the goings-ons on the offensive side of the football. The good here, I will say, I think the terminology will probably stay the same. I know it'll be very similar, but it'll probably stay the same. And so, again, you're taking a team that if you bring in a whole new offense, you're starting back over at Football 101 and having to grow the offense and be patient with growing the offense. This is one where you should be able to take off, from really where you left off with Bobby. This should be a step in and keep this thing rolling and hopefully get better. It is not as easy as one would think that you just step in and start calling plays, man. This is an absolute monster job for somebody that's never done it to step in. Because here's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter with the Houston Texans is this is the last offensive coordinator that's going to be hired of C.J. Stroud being on a rookie contract. You've got $45 million advantage right now for the next 2 years. If Nick Caley goes in there having never called plays, and it's not I'm talking about gangbusters from the jump, the dynamic changes significantly once C.J. Stroud gets 60 per, right? So this isn't just a hire. Yeah, you got the best candidate. Yeah. I mean, this is a bigger risk than hiring Bobby Slowick the first time, a guy that had never done this.
I definitely agree with that. Right, now for where your team is.
Yeah, absolutely. You are, and again, I'll reiterate, this is exactly what my fear is when you hire a defensive-minded head coach, you start churning the offensive coordinator position, whether it's because it's good and he gets hired somewhere else as a head coach, or he's bad and he gets fired. That turnover at the OC position. And even more so the turnover at the OC position when it's a guy that's never done it, and even more so when it's a guy that appears to be a plug-and-play that he's not going to bring his own staff. He's not going to bring his own people. And I don't know that. I'd be willing to bet a good amount of money on it that Nick Caley's not hiring the offensive staff for the Houston Texans. And that's a huge gamble, man. It's a huge gamble.
Yeah. I see some people texting in, hey, drive men, today's OC pick is disappointing. Another no OC experience and a roll of the dice. Would you all like Slowick back or the Nick guy? I mean, I think you have a little understanding more of what Slowick has done in his 2 years. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying when you had, in my mind, I'm thinking out loud, all right, we got C.J. Stroud. Okay. All right. How many quarterbacks, young quarterbacks, on a rookie deal do you think coordinators would love to have? All right. What else you got? We got an all-pro left tackle. I don't know how you feel about it, but we got an all-pro left tackle. Well, damn. Okay, he's under contract too. What else you got? We got a top 5 receiver potentially in the league in Nico Collins. Wow. Okay. All right. What else you got? We got a great defense. We got all this. Like, we've got this, and we've got a little something that we can spend to get things to get help in. What else you got? We got Joe Mixon, who's was a Pro Bowl running back as well. All right. I would have thought Clint Kubiak would have gave you a look. or you would have given, I just, in my mind, envisioned it would be somebody that brought more to the table, that you at least felt more of a definite, to where it was like, damn, man, it just didn't work. This one, if it doesn't work, I think we'll have a lot of questions. Now, I'm saying I think Nick Caley could work. He could very well work. He could be the guy that really turns things around. Just for me, the expectation was maybe a little something that was more. Someone texted in, is Bobby Mate the scapegoat? I don't know. We'll see how the staff looks. Because that's how the staff looks afterwards, and then you would say, all right, maybe they just thought it was just removing that part of it.
Absolutely. I mean, if the only change is the O-line coach and Bobby, call it a scapegoat, call it what you want, because we won't know if it was the right thing to do until we see the product that Nick Caley's group and whoever that may be can put on the field. But it sure seems to me that when you win 10 games, and I know there's some second-half issues, and I know the offense wasn't perfect. Look, I get it. But when you let go of one or two guys and that's all you replace and you retain everybody else, it's damn sure a look of you thought those two were the problem, and let's fix it.
Yeah. All right. As I see people rolling in, Clint Kubiak, not that experienced. I see you, Cornbread. He had 1 year with the Saints, and the offense was pathetic after a while. Okay. All I know is I've sat here, and the names that kept rolling in here with excitement were Clint Kubiak and Chip Kelly. Those are the names from many of you.
Yeah.
Many of you. Now, maybe Cornbread, you were always on Chip Kelly wasn't. Or Clint Kubiak wasn't. I'm just telling you what the names that rolled through often were those two names. It sure as hell wasn't Nick Caley. Again, I'm not saying he's not going to work, but I mean, at this point. All right.